Hello, I'm coming to you today with Nikki Williams, founder of Mentwell. How are you, Nikki?
Hey, Rob, I'm doing spectacularly. Thanks. Thanks so much for having me.
Fantastic. And Nikki, you're fresh off sitting around doing nothing, as in raising money through virtual. So congratulations on that. A hugely successful raise, just validating that Mentwell is an absolute winner. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience? I know fundraising for founders can be quite a traumatizing experience and not exactly the easiest thing to do in the world. So are you able to just share a little bit about your experience and how you went through that for other founders who might be thinking about embarking on the same journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Diving straight in. I love it. Thanks, Rob. So to begin with, I knew that Metwell intuitively was a good idea. I knew that there was a gap in just how we're making transactions related to mental health funds. That's really where the crux is in terms of where I saw a gap in the world at the moment. And so I started plugging away, and very quickly we had a B2C driven product. And I was doing the numbers going, this is not adding up in terms of being able to create a sustainable business just through me reaching out to people and creating that network effect. It would be a slow burn, it would be costly, and therefore I knew that I needed to raise capital in order to build out other functions of the business, including the B2B side and including things like co-branded cards and then through to integrations with health insurers, et cetera, as well. And so I started reading up about what it was like to raise capital. And certainly your, I guess, storytelling there of it's painful and it's traumatic is 100% true. I found that out very quickly. But for me, what I first did was I put together a database of all the VCs in Australia. Airtree also has a downloadable database of VCs and angels, that sort of thing, for anyone that's listening that's trying to enter this space. I then started going onto LinkedIn and doing heaps of LinkedIn outreach for anyone that said that they were an investor, especially those who were impact-driven investors. Then I started looking into founders who were also investors, and that's where we found a lot of our success in the early days in terms of interest for Mentwell. And then I looked into angel groups and family offices. So really for me, it was about putting together a database first and then making sure that I was following up and getting together that accurate pitch deck for each of those segments of the capital raising industry, if you will. So that's where I started. It's not easy. It's really not. If you're not from the world of finance, then there's a whole vocabulary that you need to learn. You need to be quick-witted too. You need to be quick on your feet. You need to know your numbers. You need to know your storylines. And it takes practice, to be very honest. And then layer that with needing relationships with these people too, because at the end of the day, they're giving away money. You need to have a relationship with them. It's really quite a huge process. But look, we got there and we ended up going down the virtual route.
Yeah, fantastic. That's such a great story, and I'm not surprised you saw success with virtual, just given the type of solution that you are. You know, you're all about that purpose-driven and impactful solution, so that resonates well with that type of an audience. Now, a couple of things that you said there really jumped out at me. Practice, so practice your pitch. I think that's absolutely critical and key. And the second thing, I've forgotten what the second thing was.
Practice relationships, maybe?
Relationships.
There you
That's
go.
it. Yes, relationships. And you're so true when you say that, because they're investing in you as a person. So if they don't get along well with you, or if they can't see the potential that you bring to the equation, then they're not going to invest their money in you. So I think those were two really key points that you called out there, along with everything else that comes with investing. So, Nikki, the solution meant well. You want to tell us a little bit about Mentwell in particular, but given it's got that close synergy, how do you ensure, as a founder and as a sole founder in your case, how do you maintain your own well-being and your own balance when you're trying to raise funds as a founder?
Great question. So, overriding information about Mentwell is that we are a digital gift card for health and wellness services, but the individual who receives the card can choose how they want to redeem from any health or wellness service provider Australia wide. In practicality, what does that look like? That's any GP, any dentist, any allied health professional, any talk therapist, and then through to services like gyms, yoga and Pilates studios, retreats, wellness centers, sports clubs, etc. Okay. Now, Obviously, I'm working in the wellness industry and the health industry, so it's vital that I walk the walk. If I'm going to talk the talk, then I need to walk the walk. And what I will say is that a line I've said quite frequently lately is that being a wellness entrepreneur is actually a bit of an oxymoron. It is really, really hard to look after yourself as a founder, but it is possible. And the way that I do that is that I really love to optimize my mornings. I get up at 4:40 every morning. I'm on my yoga mat by 5 o'clock. I have been going to a 6:30 class as well lately. And then after that, I'll either go for a walk on the beach. I live in the beautiful Northern Rivers, so it's easier to look after myself up here. And then go to the gym in the afternoon at least 3 times a week. So I've got a bit of a regimen in terms of how I can look after myself. A vegetarian diet is really important to me as well, and making sure that I have a great community. That's so important. People who can witness me going through the trials and tribulations of being a founder and who are okay with holding that space, whether I'm anxious, whether I'm feeling frustrated, whether I'm ecstatic, or whether I just need a hug. So that's how I tend to look after myself. But I tell you, it did not come naturally. It took a year of focusing just on myself and how I wanted to live my life while I was building Mentwell to actually get to where I'm at. But yeah, founders, you need to look after yourself because it's so easy to burn out in this life.
Yeah, that's so true. We ran a session last week for founders on combating burnout, Jude Martin. But yeah, the amazing things, a couple of things that stood out. Community, I think that's so important as a founder because no one really understands what you're going through as a founder except for other founders and those who have been through it. So community is so key, and looking after yourself in terms of finding out what works for you. Everyone's going to be different in terms of what works for their body and their mind. And I read a book recently, earlier this year, called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Great
That
book.
was, yeah, that was a game changer for me. It just, just that incremental change, gradually build up to it, do things. The 1%ers, I think, is what it's called. If you could just change things by 1%, improve by 1%, you'll eventually get there. So I think that was a really important point that you called out, Nikki, that, it takes time. You don't just go from doing nothing to getting up at 4:40 every morning and doing your yoga. And yeah, it's something that you need to build in and become a habit. So thank you so much. Just one last thing, Nikki, if there's one thing that you could say to yourself from, say, 3 years ago when you were starting your initial journey, what piece of advice would you give yourself present today to past Nikki?
Given I've run businesses before, I feel like this particular time around, this is more poignant. Keep working hard. I think tenacity and I guess dedication. And what underpins being able to do those two things is actually motivation. So focus on your motivation, which will keep you going, and just keep on pushing because I now know that I can do it, even if it is a struggle at times.
Yeah, awesome. Such important attributes for every founder: tenacity and motivation, but also passion. I think that drives a lot of it as well, and can certainly hear and feel the passion coming through in terms of Mentwell. So, Nikki, thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely fantastic speaking with you, and I'm sure there's many founders out there who can grab a couple of nuggets off our conversation today and help them on their journey as they're about to embark on fundraising. So thank you so much, Nikki.
Thanks, Rob. Take care. Thanks, everyone.